Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. If you are leading marketing efforts today, you know the game has it's fundamentally changed. It feels less like executing a predictable calendar and more like, I don't know, trying to manage air traffic control during a hurricane. Okay, let's unpack this. I mean, you're dealing with dozens of shifting platforms, Gen AI tools popping up everywhere, this huge explosion of data, and, customer expectations that are just through the roof. So if your team is feeling that strain, trying to hold on to those traditional, rigid campaign calendars, then this deep dive is definitely for you.
It is, and the problem is it's a structural one. The old model, that waterfall approach where you spend 6 months planning one massive launch, it's just obsolete. That model, it completely crumbles when you face the kind of ambiguity we have today and the incredibly short time we have to test our assumptions, learn, and then pivot. So what the sources are showing us isn't just a new set of tools, it's really a foundational operating system. It's a system that's designed to handle fast change without it all descending into chaos.
And that's exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're taking a hard look at agile marketing, but we're framing it not just as a methodology, but as a full operating model. It's built for that cross-team complexity and, the volatility of the digital age. Our goal here is to pull out the practical system, the actual mechanics that let you deliver real value sooner and adapt campaigns mid-flight.
Exactly. We need to basically rewire how the work gets done.
So let's start with that fundamental shift. The mindset, the core rhythms. I mean, at its simplest, what are we talking about here? Agile marketing is really about prioritizing the highest value stuff and then executing it in these short bursts, these sprints, right?
Yeah.
Using rapid iteration. So you're swapping out those long, often outdated roadmaps for short, verifiable learning cycles.
And that mindset shift is so critical because it completely changes how you define success. The source material puts it perfectly, I think.
Yeah.
It highlights this core value transition. You're moving toward validated learning over guesswork.
I like that.
Yeah. And you're demanding customer-focused collaboration over silos. And you're focusing on iterative campaigns over those big bang launches. It stops being about just checking tasks off a list, and it starts being about proving actual measurable impact.
That sounds great in theory, but, how does that translate into the workday? Where do you actually install this new operating system?
Well, you have to fundamentally change what you measure. You stop focusing on outputs, counting how many emails you sent or videos you made, and you start prioritizing outcomes.
So conversion rates, revenue lift, that kind of thing.
Exactly, the stuff that actually matters to the business. Practically, teams will align on these high-level outcomes for a quarter, but they operate in these short, time-boxed cycles, constantly pulling work from a single prioritized backlog. And these operational rhythms, they're borrowed directly from successful software teams. Things like daily stand-ups for tight syncs, visual boards for transparency, and the hardest part.
Let me guess. The WIP limits.
The work in progress limits.
Yeah.
It feels so counterintuitive to that marketing culture of always saying yes to everything.
Right, to the next shiny object. So why is it so critical?
Because context switching is pure waste. I mean, the studies show that switching between 3 or 4 projects makes you slower, not faster, and your error rate goes way up. So WIP limits, they force your team to focus, to finish what they start, and it protects their deep work time. When you combine that focus with regular retrospectives, where the team actually stops to reflect on what worked and what didn't, you get this engine of continuous improvement.
And the benefit of that focus is just stunning. The source notes that leading digital orgs are cutting their idea to release time down to, in some cases, under 2 weeks. I mean, if you can learn and adjust every 2 weeks, you're going to outmaneuver competitors who are stuck in a quarterly review cycle. Okay. So, for you listening right now, if you want to apply this, the advice is really concrete. Don't try to roll out the whole thing at once. Start this week. Just do 3 things. Add a simple visual board so everyone sees the status of work. Set one WIP rule, maybe only 3 active campaign slices at a time, and commit to 1 2-week learning cycle for a single small pilot project. Just prove the value.
Yeah, that's the way in.
Yeah.
And once you embrace that focus, you need the structure. That means choosing a framework that actually matches how work flows into your team. The source material outlines 3 main ones, right? Scrum, Kanban, and the hybrid Scrum path.
Okay, let's break those down. Scrum.
So Scrum is your go-to when you need that time box focus and predictable planning. The rhythm of sprints, say 2 weeks, it gives you these clear checkpoints for input and review. It's great for something big and stable, like a website rebuild. The caveat, though, is that it can feel really rigid if your marketing priorities are genuinely shifting every single day.
And that's where teams often start looking at Kanban
Right.
for that flexibility.
Exactly. Kanban is perfect, where intake is variable and you need continuous delivery. So think of like a paid media team or a creative services team just getting this constant, unpredictable stream of requests. Kanban optimizes the flow. It's less about planning sprints and more about just ensuring a smooth, fast journey from to-do to done.
But I think for most marketing teams, the reality is somewhere in the middle. It's not perfectly predictable, but it's not complete chaos either. And that's where Scrum Man comes in.
That's the practical on-ramp for so many. With Scrum Ben, you blend the best of both. You keep the rhythm from Scrum, the stand-ups, the planning, the retrospectives, which maintains discipline. But instead of rigidly locking down scope for 2 weeks, you adopt Kanban's continuous flow. So you can pull new work and the second capacity opens up. For most teams, it's just the most effective entry point.
Okay, so you've got the framework. Now let's zoom in on the roles. This is where it gets really interesting, I think, because it's about shifting control away from traditional management. Clear roles, as the sources say, cut confusion and they speed up decision-making.
They do. And you need 3 specific ones to make this work.
Okay.
First, the product owner. This is the person who holds the vision. They own that single, customer value-driven backlog. They're the voice of the customer and the business goals, all rolled into one.
Okay. And second is the facilitator or the scrum master. This person isn't a manager, they're more like a shield.
Yes, shield. That's a great way to put it. They keep the ceremonies tight, they ruthlessly remove roadblocks, and they fiercely protect the team's focus time.
And then you have the team itself, the specialized contributors.
Right. Your writers, your designers, your media buyers, all empowered to deliver work end to end. And this requires a huge shift from leadership, too. Leaders have to become coaches who remove blockers, not managers who issue commands.
And this whole system is really powered by that one thing, the backlog. You said it's the engine of focus. If you don't have a single, healthy, prioritized backlog, you're just, creating chaos faster?
You are. And this is where the really hard strategic conversations happen. That backlog has to be ranked by 2 things: customer value and business impact.
And that forces a level of transparency that can be uncomfortable.
It can. You have to quantify both of those things to make the trade-offs clear. And here's a crucial tip. You prioritize by the outcome, not the activity. Every single item in that backlog has to connect to a high-level quarterly outcome. If it doesn't, it probably shouldn't be at the top. And for execution, teams have to learn to right-size their work. Slice a campaign small enough that it can actually finish within a single sprint. Smaller slices mean faster shipping and quicker learning.
Okay, we've covered the mechanics, but structure is pretty useless if you can't measure the payoff. So let's pivot to ROI. You can't chase activity, you have to measure what moves the needle.
Right, and Agile demand this radical shift in measurement. You need a small, focused set of metrics for everything. For outcomes, you're thinking revenue lift, customer lifetime value, retention, the big goals. But to guide the day-to-day, you also need strong leading indicators, things like click-through rates, trial starts, engagement time. These tell the team if they're on the right track within that 2-week cycle.
And there's a big organizational benefit here, too. The sources note that when you pair your internal team metrics with these core business KPIs, you avoid that trap of teams just trying to game their internal numbers.
Yes. So when we talk about internal metrics, we mean things like velocity, the rate the team delivers validated work and throughput. When everyone is aligned on improving both velocity and the conversion rate, we're focused on real business success, not just looking busy. And this approach, it translates into huge strategic wins. Digital teams using this report, 20–40% revenue gains, and they get those idea to offer cycles way down.
Let's make that tangible because the case studies are really powerful. The speed is the differentiator.
Look at DoorDash during 2020. They weren't using slow annual plans. They used rapid cross-functional squads to tackle urgent customer needs. They rolled out COVID test kit delivery, support for merchants, and new gifting service. These were fast, iterative releases.
So they were able to pivot in weeks.
And the result was 226% revenue growth year over year just by staying aligned to the market.
That's incredible. That's the kind of adaptability that traditional organizations completely lose.
Precisely. Or look at Santander. They used cross-functional squads and made weekly campaign tweets based on data. Small, continuous A/B testing on their creative and media. This constant iteration led to a plus 12% loyalty score and a 17-year high net promoter score. It proves that adaptability becomes a brand asset. The consumer data backs it up. 58% of consumers remember brands that pivoted fast, and 82% did more business with them.
So what does this all mean for you if you're listening to this, ready to make a change in your own organization? The path to getting traction isn't some massive rollout. It's about starting with a focused, contained pilot that shows results in weeks. A visible backlog, a simple board, and a steady cadence.
And you have to anticipate the roadblocks.
Yeah.
They will happen. The source is great here. Expect resistant shifting priorities from leadership, unclear ownership, inconsistent measurement. The old habits, they die hard.
And the solution to all of those challenges is actually baked right into the process we just talked about. You clarify priorities by pointing to the visible backlog, you enforce accountability with those defined roles, especially the product owner, and you overcome inconsistent measurement by enforcing a data-driven cadence. It's evidence over opinion.
And our final provocation for you is this. Agile works because it builds habits from core principles: transparency, feedback, small experiments. Your most important job as a champion for this isn't running the meetings, it's coaching your leadership team. You have to convince them to remove those blockers and truly empower the team to deliver results without interruption. That empowerment, that's the real cultural shift. So if you take one action item from this deep dive, schedule a kickoff for a 2-week Agile pilot right now. Pick one small campaign, anchor your strategy and customer value, and let the evidence, not tradition, guide you. That is how you future-proof your marketing organization and your career.
We deeply appreciate you joining us for this insightful look into agile marketing as really the required operating system for modern digital teams.
And thank you for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast.
If you found these frameworks and strategies valuable, be sure to subscribe to the SmartKeys podcast for more insights on the future of work and productivity strategies. We encourage you to read the full source article, Agile Marketing, Adapting Campaigns Quickly in a Digital World, to explore everything in more detail. You can find the link in the show notes. Until next time, keep optimizing your flow.